Right. Hello, all. Now, a little bit different today. We have got the wonderful Tiffany Werhner. She is a host of a phenomenal show called Moments of Clarity. She has done thousands of interviews with phenomenal guests. I've not had the privilege to be on the show as of yet, but I am end
You're
of March,
scheduled.
and I cannot wait for end of March to be on the show. And yes, I thought we'd bring on Tiffany Werhner because we all know who she is, we all know what she does, but do we actually know Tiffany herself, like her backstory? So all I've got to say is welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Thanks for having me. And thanks for all you're doing. You come a long way. Mental health warrior. But when you first started, I remember you on Facebook Live doing it from a different room. Just now look at you. You got a YouTube
I
channel and
know,
everything.
I know,
To change
I
can only
know.
come when we stand together as one. We try to end the stigma on mental health and educate, and it takes an army to do that. So I'm in on anything I can help you with.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. Now, obviously, we want to know first of all, who is Tiffany? Like, where did she come from? Like, where you're located at the minute, and what's your backstory?
Excuse me, my allergies today. The oak trees are in bloom or something, and so I'm not gonna tell you where I'm located. Lots of people probably like to know. Well, I'm in the United States, Florida. I'll say that. Um, and what do you mean? Who am I? My backstory. I've
Yeah, what's your backstory? Because obviously you've had challenges yourself, and it's like, when did you actually realize you had these challenges?
well, we all have our challenges, right?
Mm.
Um, is there an echo for you, by the way?
No, 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 it's perfect.
Excuse me. So, I don't know. I've been studying psychology since 1989. I graduated then with my bachelor's from the University of Florida, then grad school. Um, my parents died when I was young, which kind of encouraged me to become a therapist because I saw how trauma could really derail somebody. And so I kind of put myself through school and have really seen it as I've gone through. I've worked in correctional facilities, to residential programs, drug rehabs. I wrote a book, then I opened up my own counseling center, done private practice, and I just noticed there's such a stigma on mental health. Like, people don't
Mm.
quite understand what certain words mean, like bipolar, autism, things like uh, schizophrenia, and they're scared of them, and they shouldn't be. We should more be scared of the symptoms, and to make sure that we can be happy and live the strongest life possible by knowing what symptoms we live with, even if it's just anxiety, especially if it's depression, and and not be ashamed to seek help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Obviously, you mentioned not afraid to seek help because obviously people like you and I, well, obviously when I was a little boy, I didn't know mental health actually existed.
Mhm.
Like depression, anxiety. I never came across those words before. So obviously I was afraid to actually speak out. But kids today, they do speak out. Maybe not enough, but they do speak out. And this is what I mean. This is us all holding on to this stigma, and we need as many people to come together, just like myself and Tiffany. We're from the other side of the pond here, as Tiffany says, but we're united to do one aim, and that is to break this stigma of mental health.
Mhm.
And, and it needs to start in the education, in my eyes, in the education.
Yes, absolutely. Like, a lot of people think that depression means suicidal
Mm.
or crying all the time, which are sometimes symptoms of it, but it doesn't always mean that. I'm so sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay.
Um,
We've all got allergies, Tiff. We've all got allergies.
the show must go on, and I promised to be here. I just wasn't feeling very well, but I'm not gonna let a friend down here. So, but no, anyway, but with depression, I mean, sometimes we feel like this depression can mean avoidance, difficulty sleeping. You could have flu-like symptoms, and it could be depression. Um, Loss of interest in things you used to like to enjoy doing. Um, Feeling confused. People just don't quite understand that could be depression, and other people will look at a child and think they're being lazy or something when it could be something different. Same with anxieties. Anxiety's best friend is avoidance. So especially with this pandemic, like I have a day full of clients, and I'm like, I can only be on your show from this to this. Like, they're trying to find a time to do this. Everyone in this pandemic lately, like, I can't say everyone, but there's a lot of people that are seeking mental health because the anxiety and the depression are escalating, or they're feeling symptoms of it now when they didn't before, because the quarantine, or the fear of contamination, or the fear of COVID, or the loss of job, or furlough, or unemployment, or being locked down, or worrying about getting toilet paper. I don't even know where that came from, by the way, but still, that's just the point. Oh my gosh, it's the end of the world, and make sure you have your Charmin toilet paper or something. That's the.
What's that all about?
I don't know.
Why for toilet roll? Really?
At the end of the world, and I gotta make sure I can wipe my hiney. I went for water and disinfectant for sure, but I didn't expect. I mean, who thought that we're gonna get a pandemic and that's the first thing to go? That still makes me laugh. Sorry, but it's off topic.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, because obviously we've been at this pandemic for almost a year now. I actually thought, I said on my last podcast, I thought it was a couple of years. It feels like a couple of years, but it's only been a year. And how are you actually holding up, like, mentally and psychologically?
I don't know. I put a lot of my time into my kids and my work. It's I do a lot. I work a lot. I see a lot of people virtually, but I see a therapist myself, just to decompress, because every healthy adult, in my opinion, should talk to somebody, especially if you're taking on a lot of stuff yourself. So I decompress with someone I trust, because I take a lot in that I can't tell anybody. So
because obviously what I'm doing now, this is all self-care to me, and I love it. Yeah, fair enough, I don't see anyone. Maybe I should, but it's that fear of actually being let down and thought, yeah, we're not going to be dealing with you today. We've got someone else to deal with who's less traumatic. So this is why I just do what I do. I turn to people like yourself and...
Wait, what did you just say? Somebody says we don't feel like dealing with you today, but we got somebody else. Who's saying that to you?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah. Just 3 years ago, I actually tried ending my life, tried jumping off a cliff because of all the trauma I was experiencing. I didn't tell nobody, not my partner, not my kids, no friends or nothing. I kept that to myself, and it got too much for me. And I got taken up to the hospital because obviously I rang the ambulance myself, and I begged them to section me. And they just, even though all the way up to the hospital, the back of an ambulance, I had a seatbelt wrapped around my neck because I wanted it to go.
You had a seatbelt wrapped around your neck in the ambulance?
Yeah.
There was no one there watching you? You're like, I mean,
yeah.
Around here,
they kept taking it off me. They kept taking it off me. But yeah, as soon as I got to the hospital, I was on 24 hours
supervision.
suicide watch, basically. Yeah, because I had two security guards watching me. I was put in this room where there was just a bed, and it was just plain walls. Like there was no like wires or anything I could use, because that's how it was. That's how concerned it was. And when I seen a therapist, he just went, you're not traumatic enough. We're sending you home."
I would disagree with that, but I mean, how much more traumatic can you get? You try to jump off a cliff. That's a pretty rough way to go. By the way, like, and how did who stopped you?
I don't know how they stopped me. I don't know, because it's still a little bit of a blur to me. But either way, in a way, I'm actually glad they didn't help me, because I walked home from the hospital. It was about 3 miles, and it actually gave me time to think. And this is how I became the mental health warrior.
I'm glad that you didn't succeed. That attempt.
Yeah, well, I describe it as a successful failure. Obviously, just like in 2019, where I attempted to drown myself. So, but yeah, either way, I'm here. And enough about me. This is about you, Tiffany.
I can't help it. You started saying something that didn't make sense. You're like saying that somebody kicked you out, and like, I've never heard of that before. But you're not tragic enough. You just got Baker Acted. You wanted to get. It's called Baker Act in America, or.
Yeah, well, either way, the NHS may have not helped me, but that does not mean they're not going to help another person. I've got my ways of self-care. I know how to keep my mind busy. We've been at this lockdown for just almost a year. And yeah, the first 2 weeks in March 2020 was a struggle for me, but keeping busy, that's how it is. That's how it is.
There should be more help. There's a perk about the 2020 the COVID is that more people are able to be seen, because therapists are now allowed to do telehealth and telephone and virtual sessions, where it wasn't a thing of the past. I have a beautiful office that I can see people face to face in, but I don't really use it right now because I don't want to see people with a mask on, and I don't want to die from COVID either. Especially since I have allergies, but also so it's been a nice year. I mean, there's been a lot of downfalls, but also it's given me the chance to be more creative. The live radio show that I host, I've been doing it for over 6 years. It's called Moments of Clarity, and it airs on several AM and FM stations. And before there was just like that, and then I started doing Facebook Live. But since COVID, someone introduced me to Zoom, and then I found Zoom, and then I found Restream. It was all by chance. Actually, Adam asked me to join a Zoom meeting. I'm like, "What's that?" This is like a year ago, and then he didn't know what he was doing with it. Look at you now. But then I figured that out, and then now it's a television / radio show. Like, it's evolved this year. So the COVID and the lockdown has allowed me to be more creative when we want to look at silver linings and positive ways of looking at something bad, which I really think is important to do, to try to always turn something bad and look at the positive side around it, because there's a silver lining or a positive way to look at something every time. There's always something positive. Like the COVID, the quarantine, the lockdown has been hard. However, we have our health. We still have electricity. We can come up with positives and gratitudes that we're grateful for, especially when things are hard for us. And Absolutely. To not just focus on what we don't have, but to focus on all the good things that we do. that we can. And I try to keep my mindset positive during this time. And I host an adult support group as well, and let them interact as well and teach different topics every week. And then do the radio show every Thursday and Friday from 12 to 1 our time. So it's 5 p.m. your time, I guess, 5 to 6. Thursdays and Fridays. And that's on like YouTube and Facebook Live and Twitter. If I can plug the YouTube channel, but it's youtube.com/MOC with Tiffany. And then there's different guests every week and different topics. So, but back to the mindset thing, that is the whole purpose of ending the stigma on mental health, because I don't want anyone to feel like they're how you must have felt when you're going to jump off the cliff or drown yourself. As there's always hope, and there's help out there, and there's ways to get out of that mindset, to get out of depression, to get out of, finding a way to end it all when things could be different or temporary or change for the better.
Yeah.
Hi, Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle's tuned in. Yeah, hello. Please share this if it means it, because it's time we got stories out there, and this is what I do. I bring guests on and to give them the opportunity to tell their story. Because at the end of the day, we've all got one. It doesn't matter what age you are, we've all got one. And I'm just glad to have Tiffany here. I'm just glad. Now, obviously, you mentioned moments of clarity, and I actually want to focus on that for a little bit. What made you actually start that podcast? Well, show, shall I say, radio show. Like, what idea came?
I was thinking about it, like, just a little bit, like, because I was working and working really hard, seeing one person at a time, and had a wait list and wanted to reach more people. And this was back in 2014. I was a private practice, and I was working in a clinical doctor's office, and I was there for 4 years, where I was one of 3 licensed therapists among a lot of psychiatrists and medication prescribers. And my clients would come in, and it was very much like a doctor's office, the receptionist at the window and everything, and a lobby, and like just looked like a hospital. And most of my clients would say things like, I'm not crazy, I just need to talk to someone, or they would try to sneak out the back door. They're like, I'm already set for next week. Is it okay if I just go out the back door? Because they were ashamed of going through the lobby, of being seen and things like that. So I started to pick up on the stigma of like how bad it is. And wow, I think that people really think that there should be shame in seeking mental health. But not only that, they were scared because there were actually people that were coming in for medication with case managers, severely psychiatrically, mentally challenged. And so I went off on my own and opened up a counseling center called Safety Harbor Behavioral Health and Counseling Center. Took my clients with me, made it warm, cozy, offered them bottled water, music, aromatherapy, made it kind of spa-like. And I wanted to rid the label off of counseling, out of seeking help. And when I did, I joined the Chamber of Commerce, and they had a grand opening and a ribbon cutting, and I gave a speech. And I have a stupid sense of humor, whatever, but there's about 80 people there, and WTAN radio was there and asked if I would host a psychology show. And then and then they just gave me a microphone and was at it. I was a therapist. I'm like, hello, what do we do? And they were waiting for people to just call in, and no one knew to call in. It's a radio show. So I started asking clients, hey, will you call in? Because I'm live on the air. And it was just like an idiot with nobody calling in. So I planned for callers, and then eventually it turned into guests. And then I started, arranging guests, and then it's evolved. 6 years later, that's how it started. The first couple of shows are embarrassing. It's like, people just calling and going, "Congratulations, Tiffany, you're on the radio." And I'm like, I know, right? That's stupid. But then
I wish I could see these shows. I wish I could
I can show you, but it's gonna be private. And then it evolves into now I've got a celebrity I'm interested, or like our author or whatever, rather than just they just wanted it to be a call-in, which you can still call in live. You can still leave chats and still ask questions live to a licensed mental health counselor. But it was pretty funny the first couple shows. And I used to be on Wednesday nights in competition with American Idol, so I wasn't really like watched. And then they moved me to prime time, whatever, quote unquote. So
yeah. Well, either way, you're doing absolutely phenomenal being the host of Moments Clarity. I've actually I remember me tuning in for the very first time, and I thought I need to get onto the show, but then we had a conversation about possibly doing it through Skype, because obviously I can't ring American numbers from the UK. So it's like, yeah, we didn't get around to doing that, and Skype's rubbish. So I thought,
that was
yeah,
before the COVID. Okay, so before COVID and before I got virtual like this, that's how you would have had to call in, because it was just through the phone. So we didn't have this. We didn't have the streaming service and all that stuff. So you would have had to call the 1-800 number to be. That's how I used to have guests on the radio for like the first 2 or 3 years of the show. It would, the celebrities would have to call in, and it would just be me on a microphone with them on the air. And then it turned into live streaming as well as that. But now we can see each other. Like before, it wasn't like that. So everyone from across the pond in the UK, like you, would have had to Skype in, which same with Australia and all that stuff. And it was like always, it was always difficult because it wasn't always reliable. And sometimes the call would drop and I would just be sitting there by myself going, I think I lost my guest. Hey, anybody, if you're listening, call in. I'm by myself here. Unprepared, because you always have to have a backup script just in case you lose your guest, and be like, okay, now, or figure out what to talk about off the cuff. But if the guest is about something like contaminated water or something, and you don't know anything about it, you either have to change topic, like it's just like it's interesting. Live radio is live. You can't edit it. You just have to roll with it, and like there's a lot of bloopers. There's a lot of funny bloopers.
Yeah, well, either way, there's no script here. What I say, I just it just comes to me. That's how it is. It just comes to me. There's no script, and I feel like that's the best way for shows, where they just say it as it is instead of actually having a script. But either way, you're doing phenomenal with Moments Clarity.
Thank you.
And I am glad to have actually introduced you to Zoom, even though I absolutely crap at using it at first. But I'm glad to have introduced you to it, because now your show's got even better than it already is, even bigger than it already is. And it's not thanks to me, it's thanks to you for just being who you are, Tiff.
You helped me figure out how to do it through the COVID without having to go in the station. Because people are still doing it live from the station, and they're like in that little studio. And I'm high risk. So is my son. So I'm I don't want to breathe into a big puffy microphone that other people have been breathing on, so I'm gonna do it from home. But I do miss the radio station and the studio, and intend to go back and do it virtually like this, but instead of this room, I'll be in the studio again. That's not gonna stop. That's fun, but I don't want to. If we can just do it like this, why risk it? But this is getting old. We need to get past COVID. I mean, the year's been long enough. Are you guys on lockdown in England? Like in the UK?
Yes.
Like complete lockdown? What does that mean? Like you can't go anywhere besides a store or whatever?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Are restaurants open, or like people are
No. Restaurants are closed. Pubs are closed. It's just essential shops that are open.
Because I've heard that, and I'm not trying to flip the script here. It's hard when you're a host, but I just maybe I can ask you after the show. But there's a different strain in the UK, like that they were feared of COVID.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
are people like?
Yeah. Well, obviously we could talk about COVID all day, but yeah.
Yes, so my radio show every Thursday, Friday. You could find the link as mocwithtiffany.com. I also published a book. I have this here. It's called "There's a Light Within You That Never Goes Out," and it's a nonfiction documentary for adult survivors of sexual abuse and incest, and it's a self-help book, and it's featured on the cover of childabuse.com, and it's free to download. And so I donated it to childabuse.com, and if you look on childabuse.com and the first paragraph, and then just read something about me, and then click on like the corner to like whatever the blue link, and you can read. You can get this self-help book. It's a trigger warning, I gotta tell you, because it's real stories of people, survivors, and then curriculum as well of how to help through some triggers and things like that. I strongly suggest to do it with a therapist, but at the same time, it's helpful by yourself if you're a survivor of that. It took me 18 months to write and do the research. We put a pedophile in jail, actually, too. So from one of the survivors as well, we took him to court, and the detective said that he had 2 foster kids in his house, and the stuff that was there was disturbing enough to put him away for years. He pleaded out with 10 years. Anyway, and so I've got that coming up, though. The podcast has been nominated in 4 categories on the podcast awards too, and so that's going to be interesting. The nominations come up in July, but I'll tell you about that later too. And so I don't know. Every
awesome.
Thursday, Friday, Moments of Clarity. It's on YouTube or at MOC with Tiffany. Mostly everything is MOC with Tiffany. On Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and then it streams live, and there's podcasts on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. I don't know. And I'm very honored to be here. It's a lot to list, but
oh yeah. Do I describe you as a celebrity then, Tiffany?
No.
No? Why?
If I was a celebrity, then there would be no stigma on mental health.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what I am. I'm just a therapist.
There's got to be more to that. But anyway. So obviously, with obviously Moments of Clarity, that is huge, and it will win awards come July. Of course it will. But obviously we want to know is, what was that?
Let's hope. That'd be cool.
Of course it will.
It would be cool to get a little trophy for all the hard work for 6 years of help. But that would be cool.
Hey Tiffany, take this quote. Anything is possible if you believe in it. Anything. It doesn't matter what it is.
I believe that. I know. It's just cool being nominated. So.
Well, there you go then. There you go. But anyway, what we want to know is what's next for not just Moments of Clarity, but Tiffany herself. Like, what's her next steps?
I don't know.
In general.
I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing and seeing what comes my way. I'm trying to help also the police department with their mental health program for survivors, to make sure that they're fit for returning to work after shootings and trauma care and all that stuff. So I'm doing that too. But what's next? I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, see where it takes me. Try to not get sick.
You won't get sick. There is a song out there. I Get Knocked Down, I think it is. Remember, if you get knocked down, you just get back up again.
Yeah, but that's like about a guy that drinks too much. I love that song though, but isn't it like sipping the night away or something like that?
I don't know.
He drinks a whiskey cup. Yeah. He drinks a vodka cup. No, but yeah.
But we get the gist of what it's about. We get the gist.
Thanks for having me on here. What's coming up next? We got some great guests coming up, yourself included, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what's next.
Yeah. Obviously, I will be on the Moments of Clarity show on the 29th of March. So that's after my birthday, of course. But yeah, all I've got to say is awesome. You've been good, brilliant. I can go on with that list. Thanks for coming on, Tiff.
Thank you. Just remember, like, that going through like this to with everything, like silver lining. This just find a positive in any situation, no matter how challenging it may be, and like just remember that. Like what you're trying to stay out of, like whether it's a bad day or a truly terrible situation, life will try to knock us down. But there's coping skills that you can have that are effective at minimizing the effects of like any hardship. And to be optimistic and be grateful for what we do have rather than focusing on what we don't. And don't make your failures define you. Make sure to learn to approach a situation with acceptance, courage, and wisdom, and try to just control what you can, and don't worry about what we can't control, because that is there's things that we can't control, to be able to know the difference and change the things we can and roll with it. But stay positive, because the mindset, how you were saying, we believe in anything's possible. Our mindset is what defines how our mood and our motivation where it will take us. If we believe in it, we will reach our full potential.
Absolutely. And all I've got to say is thank you for coming on. I cannot wait for March. I cannot wait for March. That's where I get my story out there. And yeah. And all I've got to say is, you talk about podcasts. Please join me tomorrow, as I'm going to be joined by Joe Hoy, as we are going to be talking about substance abuse. That's going to be my first podcast about that.
That's a good topic, especially during the pandemic. People are drinking and using more than ever. So, yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. So I'm going to end this podcast, and I'm going to leave everyone, whoever watches this on replay, whatever. Tiffany mentioned the word failure there. Now I'm going to leave this statement. Oprah once said, "A queen is not afraid of failure. Failure is just another stepping stone into greatness." And on that note,
to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And on that note, I'm going to end this broadcast now, and cheerio.
Bye.